The people who ruined themselves on purpose. A tale of usury, stupidity and greed. Once in a faraway land there were a people who yearly brought the entire value of their national worth to the great idol of the golden calf. The entire population, from the largest to the smallest, from richest to poorest, brought every single penny they had and laid it before the feet of the calf. There it was counted by the calf's usurious money-lending priests, who would add up the entire national worth and then lend this amount back to the people with interest added, such that the amount owed was always more than the amount of worth in circulation, because the amount of the interest was not covered by real-world goods and services. A mathematically certain proportion of people had to lose something, many everything, so that all of the people could repay the loan partially, such that every year another loan had to be made to cover the lacking portion from the year before, thus keeping the bankruptcy-poverty cycle going every year, year on year, without ending. And thus this people, by their loyal subservience to the usurious priests of the golden calf, year after year brought bankruptcy, poverty, scarcity, homelessness and despair upon a mathematically certain number of their people, young and old, sick and healthy, and ensured that as a whole they would be in debt to the calf. And this was called freedom. In a not very long time a very large number of these people had nothing to bring to the calf. These dispossessed and impoverished citizens had no more illusions about the calf, and saw to it for the rapacious fraud that it in fact was. But the priests of the calf foresaw this problem, and used a small amount of the ill-gotten loot to divide these impoverished people and play them off against each other. And for a long while this worked, though over time the people started to see through these divide-and-rule games, and thus threatened the usurer's power over them. Alarmed by the thought of losing their lucrative annual trade, the priests of the calf encouraged the plurality, who still had worth to pillage, to believe that the majority of the people were becoming poorer not because of the usury of the priests, but because of the laziness and uselessness of the impoverished masses themselves. And so these remaining few debtors with goods to pillage denounced and rounded on the masses, acting as the overseers and administrators, working night and day to keep them in line for the calf. As the priests of the calf consumed every last bit of their substance and made them one with the masses in poverty, bankruptcy, and despair, many of these dupes ended their days as Judah ended his dangling from a rope, cursing the day they saw the 30 pennies of the usurious priests of the calf. And finally the day came when none of the people had enough to pay off any of their loans, and the usurious priests owned everything. And on that day they all of them defaulted and became serfs, bound to a never-ending debt which could never be repaid, and perpetually laboring for the benefit of another group's best interests, forever laboring to profit another in the lands they once ruled. It was sad, and it should be a lesson to others. The lesson is that any people who allows usurers to control their money, goods, commerce, and credit will end up like the people above, bankrupted, impoverished, disenfranchised, dispossessed, enfeebled, overthrown, and serfs in the land which they once ruled. Ask any person in the Western world, for we all live under such a usurious system which is slowly turning us all into serfs, as it grinds us all down into poverty.